Every animal on Earth comes equipped with its own survival gear. Bears have thick fur, birds have insulating feathers, crocodiles have armored scales. But humans seem almost completely unequipped for extreme environments. We are born with relatively little body hair, exposed skin, and no natural protection against freezing temperatures. And yet, our ancestors eventually crossed out of Africa and spread into some of the coldest environments on Earth. They survived not by waiting for evolution to grow them a new coat, but by using something evolution had given them instead: intelligence. Humans learned to turn the bodies of other animals, plants, and eventually woven fibers into artificial protection. Clothing became our second skin. But before humans could make coats, trousers, or shoes, they first had to solve a much bigger problem. Why did we lose so much of our natural body hair in the first place? For much of our evolutionary history, our ancestors lived in warm environments where cooling the body was just as important as keeping it warm. As humans became more active in open landscapes, sweating became one of our most powerful cooling systems. Humans have an unusually high density of sweat glands and can release heat efficiently while moving for long periods. This may have helped our ancestors become capable endurance hunters and travelers in hot environments. But there was a trade-off. Less body hair made cooling easier, while making cold environments more difficult. For hundreds of thousands of years, this may not have been a major problem while many human populations remained in relatively warm regions. Then humans began expanding into Europe and Asia, where winter temperatures could be dramatically lower. Suddenly, the same exposed skin that helped in the heat became a serious disadvantage. If humans wanted to keep moving into colder environments, they needed another solution. The obvious answer was animal skin. Humans had already been hunting animals for food, so the idea of using the rest of the animal was a natural extension of survival. But raw hide is nothing like a modern jacket. Fresh skin can be heavy, difficult to handle, and uncomfortable. As it dries, untreated hide can become stiff and hard, so humans had to learn how to scrape, stretch, soften, and preserve animal skins. These techniques allowed them to create simple coverings that could protect the body from wind, cold, and rain. We don't know exactly when humans first wore clothing because the earliest skins and plant fibers usually disappear long before they can reach us. Stone tools survive for hundreds of thousands of years. Leather and fur usually do not. This is one of archaeology's greatest problems. The evidence for the first clothes is mostly missing. Then scientists found an unusual clue that survived in a completely different form: lice. Humans have different types of lice, and genetic studies of head lice and body lice have been used to investigate when these populations began evolving separately. Body lice are strongly associated with clothing because they spend much of their lives in garments rather than directly in human hair. Genetic evidence suggests that body lice diverged from head lice roughly around the period when humans were increasingly using clothing, perhaps around 100,000 to 200,000 years ago. This does not give us an exact date for the invention of clothes, but it provides an extraordinary indirect clue. Long before written history, humans were probably already wearing some form of clothing. And that means clothing may have been one of the technologies that allowed our ancestors to survive far beyond the environments where our bodies evolved. But simple animal skins had limitations. If you simply wrapped a large hide around your body, cold air could enter through gaps, movement could become difficult, and the garment would not fit closely. Humans eventually discovered a much more sophisticated solution: sewing. Bone and ivory needles have been found at Upper Paleolithic sites, showing that ancient people were capable of producing fine, carefully stitched garments. With a needle and strong thread made from materials such as animal sinew, humans could join small pieces of hide and create clothing that followed the shape of the body. Instead of simply wearing an animal skin, they could construct a garment. They could make coverings for the feet, legs, torso, and head, creating layers of protection suited to extremely cold environments. Clothing had become technology, a portable environment that humans could carry wherever they went. This technology became especially important during the Ice Age, when parts of Eurasia experienced severe cold. Humans did not simply survive these environments by being physically adapted to them, they changed the environment around their bodies. Fur, leather, layered materials, shelters, fire, and carefully designed clothing worked together as a survival system. A person could now travel through freezing conditions while carrying a small pocket of warmth around their own body. And this is one of the strangest things about humans. Instead of evolving thicker fur, we invented a way to manufacture it. We didn't have to wait for our bodies to change, we changed the world around us. The same basic principle eventually allowed humans to live in deserts, mountains, polar regions, and almost every major climate on Earth. But somewhere along the way, clothing stopped being only about survival. Archaeological sites show that ancient humans decorated themselves and their garments with beads, shells, teeth, pigments, and other objects. At Sungir in Russia, roughly 30,000 years ago, archaeologists discovered elaborate burials containing thousands of carefully made mammoth ivory beads. The original clothing had disappeared, but the beads remained, revealing how much effort had once gone into decorating what people wore. These objects suggest that clothing could communicate far more than warmth. It could show identity, social position, group membership, age, or personal meaning. A garment could tell other people who you were before you ever spoke. The moment humans began using clothing to communicate something beyond survival, clothing became part of culture, and that ancient instinct has never disappeared. Today, we still use clothes to communicate without speaking. A uniform tells us someone's role. A suit can signal formality. A sports jersey shows which group you support. A particular style, brand, color, or design can tell other people something about your identity. The technology has changed completely, but the underlying behavior is remarkably familiar. An Ice Age hunter decorating a garment with carefully made beads and a modern person choosing an outfit for an important event are separated by tens of thousands of years. Yet both are using clothing to send a message. Clothes became a language, and humans learned to speak through what they wore. We often think of clothing as something ordinary, something hanging in a closet or sitting on a store shelf. But underneath every shirt, jacket, shoe, and piece of fabric is an extraordinary story of human adaptation. We lost much of the body hair that once protected our ancestors, but we gained something far more flexible: the ability to build our own protection. We learned to work animal skins, develop needles, stitch materials together, create fitted garments, and eventually turn clothing into a symbol of identity and culture. We did not simply survive the cold, we learned how to carry our own environment with us, and perhaps that is the real invention behind clothing. Humans discovered that if nature did not give us the right skin for the world, we could make one ourselves.